Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad you're here for our coffee chat on moving your student to Arizona. My name is Renee Marquez, and I serve as the Assistant Director for Future Wildcat Families here at the University of Arizona. Some of you who have attended our coffee chats recognize I've met you a few times. You've seen me a few times on the coffee chat, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. We know that moving your student to college, especially if you're coming from out of state, can sometimes feel like a big, overwhelming milestone. There are a lot of questions. What should you pack? When should we arrive? How do we prepare for this Arizona heat? And most importantly, how do we support our students through such a major transition? So that is exactly why we're here today. You will hear directly from current Wildcat parents who have been in your shoes before. They've done this. They've navigated these logistics, the emotions, and everything in between. So they're here today to share their real experiences. They have helpful tips for you, honest advice, just really to make your transition just a little bit smoother. So we hope that today the conversation just gives you not only practical guidance, but just some reassurance as you prepare for this exciting next chapter with your students. So let's go ahead and get started. I have to tell you, we are going to do something fun today, and I would love to um, open up our chat. This is the first time we're doing this. And I would like to ask you a question for all of our families that are joining in on the coffee chat today. You can put in the chat, where are you coming from? What city and what state? I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of see where is everyone coming from today. Look at that's amazing. We have Florida, Minnesota, Missouri, Arizona, Illinois. It's so fun. At the same time, please, I'm going to leave it open for another minute or so. It looks like we have about 212 people on the chat so far. It's still growing. So please continue to put in where you're coming from. At the same time, I'm going to go over our logistics as we kind of let that run. London, wow, thank you for joining us. So today you are in the presentation today is a Zoom webinar format. So your audio and video functionality are turned off. If you want to click down at the bottom for the Q&A and ask any questions of us that you may have, that will be open to you throughout the session. The chat will close in just a minute or so. This is one of the only times we've ever opened the chat just to kind of see something fun where we're all signing in from. But we do have staff in the background available to answer any questions. Our webinar today is going to be recorded and put on our website, futurefamily.arizona.edu. So I want to thank each and every one of our guests for putting in where you're coming from today, just to kind of give us an idea. New Jersey, a fun fact, one of our panelists today is signing in from New Jersey. So we have some direct advice for you there in New Jersey. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to introduce you to three of our panelists today. So, starting off with Gina Capizzi, she is a proud parent of a third-year student signing in today from New Jersey. We have Christine Espinosa, who is also a proud parent of a third-year student, joining us from the West Coast area. And we have Mark Strickling, who is joining us today, also a parent to a third-year student, joining us from here in Arizona. Christine, Gina, Mark, thank you for joining us. I would just like to have you open up your mic, introduce yourselves, tell us about your student, and if you wouldn't mind, tell us again where you're coming from, what year is your student, and what major they're pursuing here at the University of Arizona. And
Hi,
Chris, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm Gina Capizzi. I'm from New Jersey, and I have, as Renee mentioned, a junior daughter at the University of Arizona, and she is a marketing major, started out just business, decided to go into marketing. She also participates in things like the swim club. Being in Ellers, she was originally part of Ellers Rising Professionals and now is in Rising Stars in Marketing, I believe it's called. She moved into the Arizona Sonora dorm as a freshman and she loves it. We're happy with everything. So, welcome everybody.
Thank you, Gina. Christine?
Hi, everybody. Welcome, all our new Wildcat families. How exciting. My name is Christina Espinosa, and we live in Los Angeles, California. Our son is a junior. He is majoring in sociology with a minor in criminology, and he's an All American cheerleader who cheers for U of A. He also is in an honorary club called Locks here. And same like Gina, he just loves it. It's just a wonderful place. So, welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Christine. Mark?
Yes, welcome everyone. My name is Mark Strickling. I have one daughter that's already graduated from U of A in 2024 and now in grad school. And my youngest daughter, she's a sophomore, second semester, so she'll be a third year student this coming fall. She's in the retail science studies and background in cosmetology and fashion, so it's perfect for her. She also works at the university, just recently started in the visitor center, and we're just enjoying immensely all the opportunities, especially with our winning football season and our excellent show of the basketball team, Final Four. So go Cats! But we're a proud Wildcat family.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Mark. So we're going to jump right in. And Mark, I do want to start with you. You are coming from Arizona. I realize, Gina, we really want to hear from you on this first question here, but can we start talking about logistics? Mark, when you were getting Mia, or either one of your students, ready to come to the University of Arizona. Can you tell us what was it like getting her ready to move? You're from North Phoenix, so to move down to Tucson, it's a little bit of a drive, not so close, not in the city of Tucson. What was it like for your family?
You know, what it was like because each, child is different. My first one, she did a lot of research on how dorms looked and so forth. So therefore, we were accumulating a lot of things because she knew that her dorm needed to look a certain way. And I'm sure that many of you, your children, are doing the same thing. And so the first time when we moved my daughter in, we had a cargo van full of stuff, and and it took a little bit. And then as parents, you go through your 4 years, and then my second daughter, it was totally different. She didn't need a lot of stuff. And so I would say that as parents, you will definitely customize uh, your travel and your plans according to your child and their likes. But both were different experiences, yet I appreciate both. Uh, let's see. As far as the move-in, it was seamless. The the dorms already had their box wheel carts out, so when you pull up, you're basically able to unload. It was very efficient. They had time slots for you to be able to pick and choose, and pretty much everyone followed that. And I was impressed because I'm an alum of the university, and I recall that way back in the day we didn't have anything like this. So we have definitely progressed as a university. It just makes me a proud parent to know that we have things in order at the University of Arizona.
Thank you, Mark. Christine, coming from the West Coast, you have an option. You can either do a drive, if it's closer or not. There's different modes of transportation, and there's flights. Can you kind of share a little bit when a couple years back when your student was coming in as a first year student, how did you get him prepared? And what types of transportation did you have with him coming in that first year?
Yes, so coming from Los Angeles, it's not that far of a drive, really. It's only about 6.5 hours if you go straight through. We build in a few potty breaks now and then. So we average about 7.5 hours to drive. We have season tickets for football since he cheers. So we go to every home game. We drive up. and drive back. It's not a bad drive. It's the desert is so beautiful in Arizona. We our best friend for moving were those IKEA bags, or I got mine on Amazon, those big blue bags, because you can pack them full of stuff. My son brought every stitch of clothing he had, and so we just were able to fill those. We have a minivan, so we could stack those up real easily. He we try to focus in a lot on things we can order over there in Tucson, so we didn't have to bring everything with us. Tucson has a lot of, there's Walmart, Burlington Coat Factory, Target. They have every kind of store you can imagine there, and they're well stocked for that move-in week. They know people are coming in. They're very well stocked. So we really tried. He brought a lot of personal effects, but things, toiletries, things like that. We really actually waited and bought in Tucson once we moved him in, because it just saves space in the car. Also, coming from Los Angeles, a really good form of transportation is the Amtrak train. It doesn't go every day, but it does do 3 or 4 days a week, and it travels at night. So if you leave LA I think it leaves at 10 o'clock LA time, and it arrives in Tucson in the train station there about, I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning. They have a lot of stops, but you basically sleep on the train, and it's much roomier than a coach plane area, I have to say. And we actually, bringing Roman back home for Christmas, Thanksgiving, things like that, we actually put him on the train. It leaves Tucson about, I think it's 8:30 at night, and it gets in about 5:30 in the morning in Union Station here in LA. And I'm not sure other cities, but if you're in Los Angeles, the Amtrak is definitely a great way to go for travel back and forth from Tucson.
Thank you for sharing that, Christine. I love when you mention the train because I think it's something that we sometimes kind of forget about, and how easy it is. Gina, I am looking at you. I have the same question for you, and I know a lot of our families who are on today have that similar question. Coming from New Jersey, you have your new student coming all the way across the country to Arizona. Can you walk us through your experience with your student?
Yes, we decided to fly. It was just the two of us. My husband wasn't able to come, so we each had a carry-on and two checked bags, stuffed. And similar to Christine, we had it wasn't the IKEA bag; it was a simple gray bag, but basically the same thing. They're great because they squish down real small to stay underneath the dorm, those risen dorm beds, so that they could use them for, she used it for storage over the summer between freshman and sophomore year. We did decide to fly. I can tell you like just a little bit of advice for flying, at least from New Jersey, and I'm sure every other state it's going to be slightly different, but we don't have a direct into Tucson. So I always try to kind of keep an eye on the weather. It's for us, personally, it's great if the price is right and we can get into Phoenix and then down to Tucson. This way, if there is a problem with a connection, we're at least in the state of Arizona, or at least she is when she travels by herself now. But there's times we have to go, she has to go in and out of Dallas, Fort Worth, or up through Chicago, Denver. But usually if we can, we try to get her into Phoenix. There was a time she did miss a connecting, and right away we started looking at the groom bus. And she has taken the groom bus, which is another form of transportation. I know there's groom, and there's another bus called Flex. We've only tried the groom because there was a pickup stop right on Park near University, not too far from her dorm, so it worked out very well. Um, we did a similar thing about 2 or 3 days before getting on the plane. We did a Target pickup and tried to put as much stuff in that pickup that we thought we needed. We ended up doing probably 2 or 3 more Target pickups. And we went out to like Kohl's, kind of a little bit further away from campus, just to get away from some of the traffic of all the new people. It was great when we were in some stores, we'd run into some new students. You could tell when you see the new freshmen or even some of the older ones shopping, and everybody's very friendly. And I tried to lead by example by introducing myself to a parent if I saw them standing in line or somewhere. And then my daughter usually exchanged social media. Information or social, I guess what it is, the Instagram kind of things with the other students. So they'd connect and reach out. And so that was very helpful to just kind of get her comfortable. I'm an alumni and she's wanted to go there for so long. But of course, like anything, she gets there and then all of a sudden she's like nervous and oh no, and I can't it's too long to wait till December. And I kept telling her, just focus a day at a time, a week at a time. You'll get through this. And she did. And by sophomore year, I mean, by, sorry, second semester, she was calling me and she was very comfortable and said, I know so many people on campus. So it's some growing pains along the way, but they will get through it.
Gina, thank you for that. It's so helpful. I have a lot of follow-up questions to what you just mentioned, but I did check the chat really quickly, and Evan in the chat had a question specifically for you, talking about transportation. So she wondered, was it easy for your student to, are there easy ways to get around without a car, like to the airport? What does an East Coaster do for vacation? And we do have that question a little bit later, but can you talk more about
Sure.
um, Mia getting around campus? Is it easy? Did she bring a car? First of all, let's start with that
She
question.
didn't, and she did not want and still does not want a bike. She'd rather just walk everywhere and get the steps in. So I was a little nervous, I have to admit, like the first time she flew home and I knew of, I think it's called VIP Taxi. I knew they're a well-known taxi company. And I ordered the taxi to pick her up. After that, she kept making fun of me. Mom, I'll just Uber. I'll just Uber. And and this is something I guess every kid is different and parenting styles are different. We did decide at probably the time she went away to college, yes, to do Life 360. Just wanted to see where the car was going. But I really don't need to really check it. It was just kind of that, even for me to get used to it. Um, and the kids will either Uber, they'll share Ubers to the airport. Sometimes she has a friend who has a car that she's met. Right now, she has two roommates that have cars out of the four of them. That's helpful. So those things come as the kids get familiar with other people. So that works out. As
And
far
then
as holidays, we did have her come home for Thanksgiving. Originally, I was not going to have her come home. And she's a student that's very on top of herself and talks to the professors a lot and kind of builds that relationship a little bit, goes to class. So she was doing well enough that she talked to her professors and said she would like to go back to New Jersey for Thanksgiving. And I think one or two of her classes, the professor said they were going to cancel classes. The other one said, I think they're allowed to miss one or two classes, read the syllabus, read it cover to cover. And so that ended up working for her. So I do definitely recommend that kids, if they're going to do anything, they keep in touch with their professors and build that relationship. The professors appreciate it.
I think you mentioned your student took one of
Yeah.
the buses. Oh, and did they pick up at the airport, or how did that work? Did she have to travel anywhere to catch that bus?
No, the Groom bus stops. I know there's a stop at University and Park, which is near the Arizona Sonora and it's Kaibab Huachuca and Coronado. It's that section. And then I know there's another stop near the rec center, the big rec center, South Rec. And I think there's at least a third stop, but that might be up on First Avenue. I can't remember. But there's enough scattered around. That the kids can usually, if they're just traveling with a carry-on or even a checked bag, that they should be able to get to one of those locations. I don't know the flex schedule. And my daughter's also one of those people that when you go on to Groom to book the slot, they recommend the pickup time. And she always chooses one before that because she wants to make sure she's there. She brings a book to read. She's, like I said, on top of herself.
Thank you, Gina. Mark, I have a question. So it seems looking at the chat, there's a lot of questions about bringing your car to school for your students. Can you tell me, you have two students that came to the U of A. One's here, one's an alumni. Did either of them bring their cars to school, and how did that work out for them?
Not at all, because everything is so close in proximity that they could walk. Um, Also, too, I mean, even the rec center is so close, to work out. Um, but they didn't really need a vehicle, while on the U of A campus because the U of A is so centrally located. Everything is right there. And so I know that if they need to get down to downtown Tucson, the city provides a trolley that students and citizens can use. So I would say, their freshman, sophomore year, they really don't need a vehicle. I mean, unless you want them to have one. But yeah, no, mine did not need a vehicle while they're at the university.
Thank you, Mark. And even, Gina kind of touched on, whether sometimes her student will come home for some of the holidays. And you being in Arizona, I think you're about 2 hours away. Did you have a similar conversation with your student prior to them starting their first semester about coming home, maybe how often they'll be visiting or how often you'd be visiting, and how did that work out if you did?
That was for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't have that type of conversation because I mean, freshman year they're getting acclimated. I'm, close proximity. Also, to you know, parents, there are students that do have vehicles. So if they are coming home, a lot of times, kids know each other and they network and they can get a ride. Or if I'm driving down, I can pick them up and bring other children back home with me, become that bus. But as far as coming home on the holidays and things like that, as parents, my wife and I, we did not mind. The key thing is, I think, is that as they progress, the frequency lessens. And so that's because they're maturing. And plus, too, they're developing their social circles, too. And so, as parents, if you do see that happening, just know that it's them maturing. Nothing against us as parents, but they come back, and they come back, when they want to, and they're always welcome, with open arms. But they know that hey, we have great food at our home, so they try not to miss. So your students will be back, but just know as they progress at the university, those visits may not be as frequent. So, and that's nothing, wrong because you raised them to become independent, and that's what's happening.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Mark. Christine,
You're
I
welcome.
want to move over to you and ask you, your student, Roman, here is very involved with cheer. These pictures are amazing. I
Thank
have to
you.
ask you, first of all, did he bring a car to campus, and what did that look like for him? And then secondly, I was going to ask you, uh, I blanked out what I was going to ask you, Christine, but why don't you share about his experience here on campus? If he has a car, if he doesn't, what is it like for him?
Sure. He did not bring a car. Actually, when Roman first entered into U of A as a freshman, he did not have his license. So he definitely did not have a car. Like Mark said, the campus is just such a great walking campus. You don't need a car. Um, Everything is just within walking distance. He did access the trolley to go downtown Tucson, and I believe there is some kind of a bus, and I forget the name of it offhand. Maybe Renee, that on Tuesdays takes the Wildcats for free, drives them down to the Safeway on Broadway so he could do shopping, and then it brings him back. So he accessed that, and he Ubered, and like they said, he made friends, and they have cars there. A lot of local kids who also attend U of A, and transportation has never been a problem. We actually, our first year, did use the Flixbus. I researched and I really liked it because his dorm was Likens, which is on the corner of Highland and 6th Avenue. And so the Flixbus, I think, like Gina said, there are three different areas to pick up. One of them was right there on 6th Avenue, right? I mean, he just had to roll out of bed, and the bus drove directly into the airport at Phoenix. So his first year coming back home at Christmas, we flew him home. Being a cheerleader, he's not allowed to come home for spring break or Thanksgiving because he has to cheer for either football or basketball. So those holidays, he's not allowed to come home. But for Christmas, that was a good form of transportation to get him from Tucson into Phoenix. We flew him out of Phoenix home. But after that, it was just so much easier for our family to use Amtrak because sometimes he has to change his schedule because of cheer. So if we book him a ticket and then to have to change it, it's difficult for the airlines at that time in holiday season. They're so packed. It's really hard to change your ticket. With Amtrak, it's so easy, really quick. And so that's what we utilized since sophomore year.
Thank you, Christine. This is a question for Gina in the chat, but I want to start with you, Christine, if that's okay. So Lisa in the chat from New Jersey, she'd really like to know, and Gina, I'll come to you in just a second, how your family moved the dorm items from, in Christine, your case, LA to Arizona. Did you purchase items you kind of talked about already? You purchased things here in Tucson. But you also had another experience moving Roman over. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Christine? And then Gina, I'll come to you next.
Yes, there's so many things you want to buy, the bedding, refrigerators, just tons of stuff. And so what we found a local spot in Tucson near the Tucson airport that you could rent like a pod from them over there in Tucson, and you could have things shipped there. If you ordered Amazon or Walmart or Target, and you could have it mailed there to the storage company, and they'd hold it for you until you moved in. And I think the name of that place was AAA Soto's Moving and Storage, and right there in Tucson, it's a locally owned family business. And so that really helped us out being able to order things. We ordered from Dormify and different places and have those items shipped to the pod where they held them. And then when we got into Tucson, we could go in and pick them up and move them into the dorm.
Thank you, Christine. And Gina, same question. Your experience was a little bit different. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So mostly what was in the suitcases are things, or were her clothes, a couple of things for decorating the dorm. We ended up renting the microwave and refrigerator. We went with that option. I was a little nervous that we'd get there and there wouldn't be enough refrigerators left, but there were. So I don't think people have to worry about that. At least the time we were there were plenty of refrigerators at the different Targets within Tucson. But we did end up renting. And ahead of time, I had called the hotel that we were staying at and asked what if they had any fees for deliveries. And I believe that at the time, the hotel we stayed at said maybe it was the first 5 boxes or something like that were free, and then after that, it was $5 a box. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember if they actually charged me. We had things like the bedding, like because she wanted a specific color scheme, her and her roommate. Sometimes the girls can be a little more particular. So we had stuff like that mailed. A lot of other things, and I kept reminding her, and you guys can remind your students, it's not going to look perfect right away. There were things that I would send through Amazon after I left, the days that followed up. So remind them, they still have those options, and to just be patient as everything comes together. It wasn't all perfect the day I left, but it was pretty close. We did a lot of trips. And like I said, we did a lot of Target trips up to the Container Store. Check out, like I think the Container Store every year does maybe a 15 or 30%, something like that for students. You have to sign up. Same with Target does something. So check into those stores and what they offer. I do want to double back real quick to the flying that I forgot to mention. coming from so far away, um, I advise other parents, and my kids all know this. I don't wait till the day before classes start to send them because of weather and because of just not even weather, but just sometimes mechanical issues, any kind of issues could delay your student from getting back to campus. And I remember my daughter's freshman year, there was a big windstorm that was coming up, I think, all through Dallas and down through Atlanta and up to up the East Coast. And so many kids were stranded at different airports. And the professors aren't gonna generally, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think they usually forgive the students for being delayed due to flights. So I always send back 2 days before. It gives my kids an extra day just to kind of prep, gather themselves, get used to the time adjustment and everything.
That is great advice, Gina. I'm glad you brought that up because coming from New Jersey, I know Mark is in Arizona and his student knows a little bit more about this Arizona heat here. But coming from New Jersey, how did you all prepare what types of things to bring for Mia? Is it, I'm sure she didn't pack a whole bunch of sweaters. Like, what was that like, Gina?
She had a couple. It does get cool in the desert at night. She had a couple of sweatshirts and jeans, no big jackets, which was kind of interesting because, like Mark said, they do choose not to come home after a while. So her freshman year, spring break, they all went skiing and she didn't have a jacket. So I just sent it again. Between Amazon and Costco and all these stores, you can send them stuff pretty quickly. So that's something we didn't grow up with. Her and her roommate did want to rent the water bottle option or that big water jug in the room. So they did have that. I would like to say all the dorms, but I can't speak on that behalf. I think at least most of them have some type of water fountain where they can put their water bottle. So she does have her water bottle. Sunscreen is a big thing. And we did one year buy those liquid. Um, IV things that help keep them going, those energy things. But I don't think she uses them that much anymore. I think she just pretty much sticks to water.
Thank you, Gina. Mark, a lot of times our advice for our students is less is more. Our dorm rooms are small, whether they're coming into the dorms or moving into the apartment high rises or somewhere near campus. Did you have advice for your students when they're moving to campus on what to bring, maybe what not to bring? I'm imagining you didn't bring, like a U-Haul or anything like that. Like, how did you all plan on what she was going to be bringing down to campus?
Well, it's trial by error. I mean, our first student, we did rent a cargo van from Enterprise Rent a Car because she wanted so many things, and amazingly, she was able to fit those things. But she had planned it out of what items she wanted in her dorm, so it was fine. Um, the Each dorm is different, and so what I would say is for parents is to look online and see what type of dorm room that you'll have, so that way you'll know what items to actually bring. My youngest, her dorm room is totally different from my first, so the bed was different. The beds in hers was higher, and so she was able to store things, under her bed. And so those are, just things. Also, too, once you're assigned to a dorm, typically they have like I think you're able to pick your roommate, and so they were able to communicate, with her. She was able to communicate with her roommate, basically on what to bring and what not to bring. Like, oh, I have a microwave. Oh, I have a mini fridge, and so therefore, then in advance, who's going to have what, and children or millennials and Gen Zers are pretty techy, so they're able to communicate with each other most efficiently than us Gen Xers and Boomers. So, again, it was by trial and error. I mean, being in Arizona, I mean, if we brought some things and if it didn't fit, then we just took it back home with us. So it was no big deal.
Smart. Thank you, Mark. And since you're readily available, Lisa from New Jersey has a really good question in the chat that I would like to ask live. How many days, and I'll ask the three of you, how many days before and after move-in did you choose to come down? Were you here for most of the week? Did you stay for any of our Family Quest events? How did your week, what did your week look like as far as moving? Mark, I'll start with you.
Yeah. I think we stayed, for a little bit, for a few days. But we didn't stay long because, we want her to get acclimated quickly. Um, and then the frequency, being that I am, in the greater Phoenix area, the frequency is, it's during football season, so we're going to the football games. And so automatically, we're going to catch up with, my daughter while we're there during that time. She was involved and still is in Zona Zoo. So I would encourage all parents, to make that an addition, to have them have the Zona Zoo pass, which allows them to go to all the sporting events. Um, and then especially with the clubs on campus. They do have a club day to where it's hundreds of them. Encourage your student to visit all of them, and that way they can assess which ones they want to be a part of. Because the main thing about student success, and I'll say this on my part, is for them to belong and find their tribe, people that are like them, to where they can develop those social relationships and grow, as a person. So those things were all encompassing, but we didn't stay that long because again, we wanted her to be able to get to know people quickly. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mark. Christine, can you answer that same question?
Sure. My experience was a little bit different because Roman had to report to U of A a month before move in order to be at cheer practices. And so he lived with some other cheerleaders off campus for a month, and he just took a duffel bag up basically with him. And so when we moved him in, we actually, it was me, my husband, and my mom and dad, we all drove up with all his stuff that he'd left here. So every year we have, what he packs for the cheer move in a month ahead, and then we follow up again with his other stuff. But we did the whole week thing. I was having a really hard time. I was really worried about him being so far away from home, and so we went for the whole week prior to move in. We didn't need a whole week. As far as getting things done emotionally, the mother and me needed the week, so that's why we did that. And as far as the Arizona heat, we definitely did the liquid IV more so for us as adults than my son. I think like Gina's daughter, he started it his first year there, but now he just drinks regular water. I would say for moving, definitely pack a soft sided cooler with just some cool waters and some snacks, because you're doing a lot of unpacking and different things, and you're going to get thirsty and a little peckish. So I would definitely suggest that. And like Mark said, the dorm rooms, you want to do space saving things. We had things like collapsible laundry baskets, both hard sided and soft sided collapsible ones. We had alien tape so he could decorate his all the walls and not damage it. He had a large suitcase and a carry-on that could be put in, because really space is a factor in all the dorms, no matter which one you're in. You really have to think, to maximize the space. We did, instead of the power strips for him, because they only have a few plugs in the room, we did the tower uh, uh, power strip. So it's like a tower, so he could access everything. He didn't have to go underneath a table or anything to plug something in or unplug it. It was a tower that sat on his desk. Um, Everything is organized so well at U of A. Just make sure you're on time. They'll give you a time. Make sure you're on time. There's tons of people to ask, questions. Where do I go? Who do I see? Tons of people around to help you navigate where you need to go, how you're going to get there. And the city of Tucson is the friendliest people around. When you go shopping or you need something, like Gina said, you're going to run into other families moving in. So easy to make friends, make connections. And I would definitely attend the Family Quest events, whatever you can, because they will start to make friends pretty quickly. And then as parents, we were standing around like, well, he's off with these new friends he made. And what are we going to do? So there's a lot of really great things for the Family Quest for parents to attend and do and make community for us. The kids are going to make community for themselves. And that is, I mean, I know Roman, he has lifelong friends now that he's made. A lot of them he met his first year at the dorm. But for us as parents, letting them go, it's nice to make community with other parents and I saw from the chat so many families coming from so many different places. The Family Quest events, I would highly recommend it for us as parents to help us ease in to letting our children grow and to letting them go and grow with everything U of A will pour into them.
Christine, you make me so happy. Thank you for sharing. Gina.
Before I answer the question, though, it just popped into my head. A screwdriver. We did make sure to pack a screwdriver or at least add it to your, I guess, Target pickup or whatever if needed. But I knew we were going to have to screw some things together when we got there, like the lamp, the little rolling cart that she had, those kinds of things. So we did have a universal screwdriver. And this way she just kept it there. We had some, brought some tape just in case we needed it right away. So those are things we actually did bring with us in the checked bag. But as far as staying there, so if you're coming from the East Coast, at least New Jersey, it pretty much takes a whole day to get there. So we got there the day before her move-in date. And for us, this actually helped. Her roommate had moved in the day we landed and was in the room and said to us late at night, like, oh, if you want to just drop some suitcases and things off, you could just leave them in the room. So we actually ended up taking advantage of that. We didn't move her in, but we just she ran some things up. Her roommate held the door open. And then the next day, we actually did the unpacking. So that was helpful. We didn't plan for that, and it worked out that way. And then I too am an alumni, so I wanted to kind of stay a little bit. So my daughter moved in, I think it was like the second day of move-in. And then I attended all the resource fairs and the quest. And I ended up staying another extra day to do the family social. Just like I said, I hadn't been back in a while myself, and I wanted to take advantage of all those things. Once she was moved in, she wanted to stay with me in the hotel, and I said, no, I think it's time. And I kind of had to push her out. And she said, well, what are you gonna do by yourself? I said, don't worry about me, I'll be fine. And it is kind of this funny feeling, and you're literally kind of pushing them out of the nest. And after that, she didn't stay in the hotel, and she was there, and I took advantage of going to all the resource fairs. Well, the students do have their own agenda where they're meeting with their departments and things like that, their colleges. So they are busy. And I did do the resource fairs and some of the little chats that were there on campus, which was helpful. One of the ones I sat in on was about the think tank, and I wanted to make sure that I knew how to do it in case she needed to do it. And then I advised her, look at one of your classes and see if you can go on and figure out what time a tutoring session would be if you needed it. Like, let's do this ahead of time. This way, if something happens, you're already set. It's like, oh, I know how to do that, and you can do it. So there were things I learned, and then I shared with her and said, okay, now you do it. And then they have their convocation and things like that. So they are busy. So I wouldn't say you have to say the whole time, but there are some fun things and interesting things between the resource fair and the family quest and social that are nice, very nice and helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. That is great advice, Gina. And it really sounds like your student was thinking about you too, being alone in the hotel by yourself. Thank you for sharing. So we are coming down at time. There are a few things I want to ask you, but our questions in the chat, we've answered 80 questions. It looks like we still have 5 questions in the chat, but there's one I noticed here. Let's see. I noticed there is someone on the call from Leawood, Kansas. How can we connect with them? I have to tell you, our panelists today said exactly that. Our family events are designed for you all to meet each other. thinking that if you can all come to campus or if you are coming, we would love to have you. The first 2 days of our family quest is our family mixer. That is the perfect time for you all to meet each other. In fact, that's what these events are designed for. So the entire week, we're hoping for you all to meet each other. We know that's one of the most popular things with our families is you want to meet each other from, especially from each other's areas. So that is really our intention with these events. And I'm happy to hear that the three of you attend our in-person events for that matter. There was another question in the chat that was asking about what does Friday look like in Family Quest. Here's two things. So we will dive deep into Family Quest during our parent and family orientation, which is free for all of you to sign up. I know we've mentioned it a couple of times, but I have to tell you, our communications will start going out in May because our first one isn't till June. So our communications are usually a good month out. We will talk about each of the sessions, what they're intended, what will happen. They're all free to you. She asked specifically about Friday, which is our Wildcat Family Conference. So that is where you will receive a welcome from our campus leadership. And then after that is true conference style sessions on topics that you are able to create your own schedule. So you'll go to each of these individual sessions, they're 45 minutes long, and then you switch and you can go to the next topics. Or you can be done for the rest of the day. You basically make your own schedule, but you'll have access to all the information that is available here on that day. So, whatever topics you're interested in, you can attend. And then in the evening, we do a Proud Parent Social, and we'll get into the logistics more as it gets closer, mostly because it's not really it's not planned yet, but we have it every year. So you can count on something to also be happening that evening down at the Arizona Sands Club. Gina, Mark, Christine, your information for our families is invaluable. I really quickly, just because we're at time and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, can you just provide us a little bit of last minute encouragement for our families?
I don't mind chiming in real quick. The thing is that as your student goes to the U of A, there are so many opportunities for them to become engaged that they just become wildcats for life. And the same hope for your student is the same hope for you as parents. The U of A really embraces us, especially with all the different kinds of events. So just as your student is having fun, you're having fun too as a parent. You'll start to see your student buy Wildcat gear. Next thing you know, you're wearing it too because you're having just as much fun as they are. So I'll say this that as much as you want to be engaged with the university will engage you. But I guarantee if your student puts the time in to help themselves to get to know people from all around, not just from students to professors to staff, everyone, it is going to be an awesome experience that they will never forget. And so I just want to encourage you as parents to come on down. We hope to meet you at the parent socials. We're going to have a blast. It's fun to be a Wildcat, and it's a great time to be a Wildcat. So hopefully we'll see you soon and just bear down.
Thank you, Mark. Gina?
I'll piggyback on that. No, I agree. The more they get out there and get involved, the better. And my daughter did things and was involved in things her first semester that maybe she dropped second year, wasn't as involved in, things pittered out. But she's happy she did those, even just to meet people and get out. The dorms offer a lot. The university, I also was on Instagram saying to her, "Oh, look, the rec center's doing this, or the dining hall's doing this, or this is going." I mean, there's so much going on that they can get involved in, and the more they're out there, they're meeting people, and that's just the best way to get involved and meet people, find your crew. So I really advocate for that. It is a growing pain. And so and I put it in the chat, one of my pieces of advice is the best mindset for success is to be comfortable being uncomfortable all the time. If you want to succeed in your personal and professional life, you must chase discomfort, not success. So I really like that saying because it's something these kids have to do. We as adults do it, and we've kind of gotten used to it, but they're in a whole different lifestyle from where they grew up now, and it's just that getting out there and being uncomfortable is part of success.
Thank you, Gina. Christine, what words of encouragement do we have for our families?
I just want to congratulate everybody on welcoming you to the Wildcat family. This is an amazing, amazing university. The child you drop off for moving is not the child that will come home later on in the best of ways. My son is a junior and he does not want to graduate. He's loving it so much there. There's just so much to do. If you have an introverted child, I would definitely take the time, like Gina said, to find out about different things to maybe help them find their tribe. But you know, my son he's an extrovert, and boy, he just took off, and he just loves it. He's very involved, and he actually, you know, he's minoring in criminology, something we never ever thought. It was just not on the radar. But this school opens up doors, and you know, he's talking about possibly law school. He doesn't know exactly how he wants to use his degree, but that's an area I just never saw him going that way. And it's so fascinating to hear the passion he has now from the professors, that in an area which we just never saw him in. And it opens doors for them that it's just an amazing place. I can't say enough of it. Real quick, I wanted to just let people know to make sure you send your kids with a luggage scale for when they do come home, so they don't have to unpack like my child did in the airport. And before you leave your kid, if you want to maybe pack up like a little sick thing, their favorite soup, crackers, you know, Motrin or Tylenol, something like that, because they will get sick when you're far away, and it's a heartbreaker when that happens the first time. So if you leave them a little kit in their dorm, that they have something, it just kind of makes you feel a little bit better. And also for that first birthday away from your Wildcat, also a killer. Safeway will Instacart them birthday cakes and birthday candles. So that's a good thing if you can't be with your Wildcat on their birthday and it's the first one in, you know, 18 years. That that helped me, and it was fun for him and his roommates. So I just wanted to hit those last little bits in of advice and welcome everybody. There are some growing pains for us as parents, but it's just an amazing place. And the child that comes home now, I'm amazed. I'm amazed at him. He's incredible what they've poured into him. We did our part, and now U of A is doing theirs. And congratulations to everybody.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Gina, Christine, Mark, thank you for joining us today and sharing your time, your stories, your insight, your advice. Just really appreciate your willingness to support our future Wildcat families. We are over time. I wanted to go a little bit into what we were going to talk about at parent and family orientation, but your advice was so valuable, your experiences. So, as you, as our guests, prepare to move your students over to Tucson, remember that there's no perfect way to do it. Every family's journey looks a little bit different, and that's okay. What matters most is showing up, staying flexible, supporting your student as they begin to build their independence and find their place here. We have two questions in the chat that didn't get answered. Kyle, thank you for your patience. You were asking, coming from Missouri, any ideas on getting your son's car to campus? The reality is that we hear so many stories of students and families traveling across the country. So there's driving it here, bringing your students things as they're going to spend the rest of the 4 years here. Or if you're looking for companies or something like that that will ship the car, that's one thing that we don't have. We don't have a recommendation for. If you want to send us an email to futurefamilies or at arizona.edu, it's right there on the screen. I will be happy to kind of help guide you through that. But I'll have you know if you decide to drive your car across the country, we hear of that, much more than not. So I just wanted to offer that to you, Kyle, as none of us had an answer for you there in the chat. When do student events start before classes begin? Yes, that's Destination Arizona, and your student will be receiving all those email communications to their arizona.edu email account. So encourage them to be checking that all throughout the summer. They will be able to um, learn all about the sessions that will be available to them during that first week prior to the start of school. Parent and family orientation is virtual. Yes, thank you for asking. Um, and that is it. We are excited to welcome your students and your families to the Wildcat community. You are now part of something special, like our families have mentioned today, and we're so happy to support you every step of the way. Thank you all for being here, and we wish you a great night.